So, Michael, big news out of Disney this week.
Oh, of course.
The new Little Mermaid is black.
Yes, and people are really angry about it because, like, this is what blows my mind. Okay, people are saying, because obviously the original story by Hans Christian Andersen, is that his name?
Yes.
It is from Denmark, which is fine, but it's a remake of the Disney animated film, which is very clearly set in a tropical environment just from the way the sea looks. So it's like very strange, and not to imply that it wouldn't really matter, or it would matter anyway, but especially given the fact that it's not as if Disney has never been faithful to their original source material. So, but now it's got one of the blacks in it, so now they're upset.
Like, I can't imagine just being angry about this.
Yeah,
like it must be so exhausting.
Yeah.
Like, just society is changing, people who are black, who are not white, are getting more roles in sort of film and TV. And, just give up. You've lost. It's over.
Yeah, exactly. There'll never be another white person in a film again. You've lost.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the reason why there are so many
white roles.
I guess people... Yeah, so the white characters being adapted into black characters, and people are mad about that. Well, it's because there's no black characters in the first place. And why are there no black characters in the first place? Because America is deeply racist.
Oh, I thought it was going to be because black people were too busy inventing peanut butter.
Ah, right, I see. Yeah, and that's another explanation. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, black people have not had a fair shake in Hollywood. So therefore, a lot of characters, a lot of, people or in movies are white.
Yeah.
And so... when you try to address that, of course, you're going to have people changing race. Yeah. But again, it doesn't really matter. It's fine. The Little Mermaid isn't defined by her skin color.
No, yeah, that's the great... Like, I saw people saying as long as she still has red hair. I don't know if that was just them trying to pretend that... Like, it was when, like, people were like, oh, yeah, when it came out, James Bond might be black, and everyone was like, I didn't even like it when Daniel Craig was blonde, because the other... And it was like, I'm pretty sure that you weren't kicking up as much of a fuss then. But yeah, I actually saw somebody who was trying to, like, set themselves up. They were, like, talking to a black person on Facebook, and they were saying, you and other black people should be angry at Disney's virtue signaling because they're not making they're not creating new original roles for black people. And all the black people just like, shut up. You don't tell us how we should engage in activism, you dickhead.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I know. Well, you know what, actually, we're gonna talk about the counterculture and culture was in this movie too, so it's a nice setup. But anyway,
a nice
let's get on with
shadow.
Forrest Gump.
Or should I say Forest Shadow?
Perhaps not.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out relatively recently at the cinema and see if they still hold up on a second watch. I'm your host Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke, and this week we are looking at Forrest Gump. We're celebrating, I assume it's got to be the 25-year anniversary, if I can do
Michael, the 20... Yeah,
count backwards from 2019.
Anniversary.
It's very difficult. So Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about Forrest Gump?
Sure thing, Michael. So as you mentioned, it's the 25-year anniversary. By the way, we are doing movies from 1994 and 1999 along with other years, but there are so many good movies in 1994 and 1999. It is crazy how many good movies we are doing and reviewing this year from those 2 years. Anyway, so on to Forrest Gump. It is a 1994 American comedy drama film based on the 1986 novel of the same name by Winston Groom. It was directed by Robert Zemeckis and written by Eric Roth. The film stars Tom Hanks, Robin Wright, Gary Sinise. I don't know how to pronounce that.
I don't really know either. I don't really know either. I don't even know if I recognise that name.
Fucking hell. McKelty Williamson, I hope I said that right, and Sally Field. That one's a lot easier to say. It was released on July the 6th, 1994, so literally, Michael, just 2 days away from the 25-year anniversary of Forrest Gump.
Yeah!
And I didn't even time it. This is just completely coincidental that we are literally doing this at the exact time. It's 25-year anniversary. I just put it here because there was a gap. So there you go. Things... life is like a box of chocolates. You never quite know what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. And we've got a great coincidence here. So, Michael, can you guess the budget?
It can't have been like that much. 35 million?
55.
Okay, that's all right.
Yeah, CGI of those presidents took a bit of
money.
The box office.
I don't know, because obviously it made a lot of money. 3, 4... 450 million.
677.
Okay. I feel like I've been kind of the
This
same ratio off with both of those, so...
Yeah. Now, this movie was an absolute phenomenon when it came out. Obviously, it also won the Oscar in 1995 for Best Picture, and also it was the second highest grossing film of 1994 as well. Also, by the way, won the Academy Award for Best Director, Best Actor for Tom Hanks, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Visual Effects, and Best Film Editing. And in 2011, the Library of Congress selected the film for preservation in the United States National Film Registry as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. So there you have it. This is an incredibly important movie, and it is a movie which has won many awards along the way.
Yes.
So, with that, or with knowing all that, Michael, did you like Forrest Gump?
It was good, yeah. It was good.
Is that it?
Well,
Just
well,
good?
you know what? I mean, okay, so like this film, it did win Best Picture. I don't think this film is like some fantastic film that's, you know, an all-time great. I think it's like just an enjoyable film. It's like an enjoyable feel-good film, but it's not a film where I'm like, yeah, Forrest Gump. And I've seen it like quite a few times now. What do you think?
Yeah, I think at best Forrest Gump is good, but you can have a slightly more cynical interpretation of it, and I will be presenting those cynical arguments later on.
Okay.
Yeah, so it could be good, but also there are some things which I do have issues with.
Yeah.
With
well,
this
speaking
film.
of having issues with things, do you have any nitpicks, Luke?
I have two.
I have four. One of them's very it's a nitpick on me, which I know we don't always do, but I just felt like it was a significant nitpick on me, so I just say it anyway. But you get to go first because you've got fewer than me.
Okay,
So
well, that's very big of you, Michael. Well done. So the when Forrest Gump is getting on the bus to go to Vietnam, or just go to the army training quarters things, a bunch of the people don't let him sit next to him on the bus, and like I get why the kids don't, because you know they're mean, but why would like some random people just say no, this seat's taken to like a fully grown man?
Well, I'll tell you what, Luke, clearly you've never been on the bus with me. I always love to do that, especially if it's like an old woman or a pregnant lady. Just go, nope. Yeah. Mate, well, obviously, Luke, I think what you're missing here is it's supposed to be symbolism of the youth being sent off to war because they're acting like young children by not letting Forrest sit there, which communicates how young they are and how innocent they are because they're still behaving like children, and therefore it adds to the tragedy of the war.
Or they just wanted to do a little playback of the earlier moment in the movie.
Lies.
Yes. So next nitpick, it's the CGI, Michael, of the presidents and John Lennon. It has not aged well. Obviously, Tom Hanks, gets put next to who was it? JFK, Nixon, Lyndon Johnson, and then John Lennon. I think the John Lennon one is the worst because it's I don't know. There's something just more off about that one compared to the rest.
Is it that he used to beat his wife? Is that why you didn't like it, Luke?
You know what? I think did any of those three presidents do worse stuff in terms of like?
Well, the thing is, it depends because obviously all of them were really responsible for many deaths due to their policies. I know. But in terms of like, I mean, the thing is like JFK, he cheated on his wife loads, but I don't think he ever. I mean, like at the end of the day, that sucks for her. But if I was going to choose between being cucked or being beaten, I'd probably choose being cucked. Heck, I'd choose being cucked even if it wasn't a choice between that and beating. It's funny because we've just been talking about how much we want white people to be kicked out of Hollywood, so it just proves we're cucks. Anyway, I don't think any of the presidents were personally bad. Although, do you know the whole thing about Johnson? Johnson had a really big dick.
Is this accurate?
Well, apparently, this is quite reliable. I've heard it said by like multiple people, but I've seen it like kind of those facts about US presidents on YouTube. But I assume they don't just make stuff up. Do you really think someone would do that, just go on the internet and tell lies? But apparently, Mr. Johnson was very proud of his penis, and he used to like he was one of those people who would walk around naked in the changing rooms, but he'd like direct people's attention to his penis. He'd be like, "Look at my penis, isn't it huge?" There's like a specific quote of it, and it's like, "You ever seen anything more incredible?" Gesturing to his penis, but I don't think he actually sexually harassed people, so he's not as bad as Clinton.
Okay, good stuff. So yeah, anyway, just the CGI hasn't aged well, and obviously John Lennon is a wife beater. Yes, that can't be forgotten. So what are your nitpicks?
Well, it's funny. I'm going to do this a bit out of order because it's funny you mentioned the army not letting him sit next to them on the bus, because I had a nitpick about the kids not letting him sit next to them on the bus, which is that we see 4 children saying, "You can't sit here," but half of those children, they're sat. It's 2 people on the bench already. So it's like they have like,
Yeah, that's a good point,
and they're just like, you can't sit here. It's like, well, obviously he's not going to sit on top of you. Like there's, anyway. And then, but okay, my nitpick on, I'll leave my nitpick on me to the end, seeing as otherwise it'd be a bit weird. So, other one, naming your kid after a founder. I think it was a founding member of the Ku Klux Klan, to remind them that we all do bad things. Seems like a pretty bad strategy for naming your kids. It's like naming your kid Hitler, Adolf Hitler, like, I was going to say my surname, but I'll just give myself the fake surname Smith. If I called my kid Robert Adolf Hitler Smith, and I said, it's to remind you that sometimes we all do bad things, probably wouldn't be good.
Yes, I know. Well, I'm going to talk about the KKK later.
And then last one, well, before my one, why do they refer to Gump as a gardener? When they're talking about him running around, they say, this gardener from Greenboro? Is that how it's pronounced? Greenbow, Alabama is running, and they like multiple reports calling him a gardener. They don't bring up the fact that he's the owner of a multi-million dollar shrimp company, or which, I think, the fact people are like, hey, who is this guy? And they'd find out, hey, he's the CEO of this, big company. He's a millionaire. And I would think that would be more important than the fact he's a gardener. And then obviously, I mean, you could say...
And he's won a Medal of Honor.
Yeah, I was going to say, and there's other things he's done. So he's done several things, that all of which you'd think would make the story more interesting. Just, hey, here's this random gardener. It's like, hey, here's this guy who's done quite a few interesting things. Like if Steve Jobs... oh wait, no, he's dead. Yeah, if Steve Jobs started running around, there'd definitely be some reports on that. Anyway, and then finally, my nitpick on me is that I thought this was a Steven Spielberg film. I was so confident. I don't know why. I was like thinking, yeah, it's a Steven Spielberg film, obviously. And then I was just smashed by the truth bomb of it being by some guy I've never even heard of. I can't even remember his name. You said it.
What, Robert Zemeckis?
Yeah.
What, a very famous director, Robert Zemeckis.
What else has he done?
Back to the Future.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, see, the Back to the Future, it's one of those films where I wouldn't really think about who's been directing it. I would just think, it's like, most Steven Spielberg films. You don't really think about who's directing it. So that's kind of thing where I was like, oh yeah, I don't really know who directed this film. So it must have been directed by Steven Spielberg. Anyway, plot.
Okay, yeah, I'm just looking, by the way, at what other movies he's done at Robert Zemeckis, because I swear he's done a lot of big movies. He did Castaway as well.
Okay, yeah, that Tom Hanks film.
Yeah, they can't forget about that. And he's been a producer on a bunch of good movies. But yeah, he's quite famous, Michael. I think you probably should have heard of him. I'm going to go out and say
I don't know anything about films, so everyone knows that.
I mean, like, come on.
I've never even seen a movie.
How do you not know the director of Beowulf?
Oh, you know what? The funny thing is I've seen that film too, so...
that was a great movie, Beowulf. Anyway, Forrest Gump. So the plot. Okay, so the plot revolves around the story of Forrest Gump. It depicts his life, or several decades of his life, and Forrest Gump obviously is a slow-witted but kind-hearted man from Alabama who witnesses and unwittingly influences several defining historical events in the 20th century in the United States. And by the way, the film differs substantially from the novel it was based on. So, Michael, the plot... well, actually, you know what? I think we should talk about just the premise first.
I wanted to talk about the premise. I have something to bring up about the premise that's just crazy. No, it's not really. I've noticed something recently, which is that there's a lot of films have this premise of like an idiot or like a stupid guy who is unwittingly a massive success. And I was just thinking about films I've seen. There was this film, I think it was called Marvelous, which was like a Channel 4 original film, and it's the true story about this guy from Stoke-on-Trent who is, has some kind of mental educational disability, and he goes on...
He's from Stoke.
Yeah, and he goes on to do all of this crazy stuff, like he becomes a famous person in Stoke, and he's influential. And then there's another film called Eddie the Eagle, starring Taron Egerton, is that his name? And
yes.
And it's about, I don't know if you've heard of Eddie the Eagle. You might, because
yes,
sport.
I know.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, yeah, see, I don't know, because it was before our time, but I figure seeing as you know these things. And yes, there's a story about him, and obviously he was kind of a bit of a simple man who won people's hearts by just being loving and not giving up and just finding himself in the right place at the right time. You haven't seen the film, so I guess maybe you don't know his story, but yeah, if the film's accurate. And right, basically, that's a nice little story people like to have. It's this stupid, simple person who just makes their way through life with Jesus watching over them, probably. But what did you want to say about the premise?
No, again, like you're right. Audiences like this because you've got a simple dumb guy who's, I guess the thing is, he's incredibly sympathetic to the audience, and he just makes them go, he's so innocent, he's so likable, and him being a bit stupid it does make him seem innocent, and I think that's the key. But obviously, Michael, there is a balancing act. I don't know if you've seen Tropic Thunder.
I have seen Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, remember that speech that Robert Downey Jr. gives to Ben Stiller?
You never go full retard.
Yeah, never go full retard. So obviously, this was when Ben Stiller in the movie performed as a simple Jack, just an absolute retard, and that is. I'm not being offensive when I say that. That is literally what his character was. And the message from Robert Downey Jr. is you cannot be fully retarded if you want to be have your movie be successful and your audience to be sympathetic. You've got to balance it a bit. And he gives the example of Tom Hanks, and I think also Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man.
Yeah. That works. Yeah.
So you can't go, as he says so eloquently, full retard. Yeah. And so Robert, and that's what not Robert Downey Jr. That's what Tom Hanks does in his movie. He's the lovable idiot, and you combine that with the accent. It's you immediately create a very sympathetic and lovable character. And obviously, the premise of this movie is you've got this character, and he's going about his life witnessing all these important events, but because he's an idiot, he's too oblivious to know the significance of it. And obviously, the audience is meant to take humour from that. Again, he's just going about his life, not knowing what's happening, and obviously, it's endearing. To a lot of people.
No, I agree. So basically, it's an interesting idea because I think I just remembered another example of one of these films. It's The Jerk, starring Steve Martin, and even though it's called The Jerk, he's not actually a jerk in it. He's just stupid. But again, it's another film about a stupid person we like. So there we go. But the thing is, I think what makes this film different is that it takes it to new extremes with exactly how much he influences. With obviously, him meeting loads of presidents. Eventually, he just decides to stop meeting presidents. So, he doesn't get to meet the two presidents that nobody cares about, Carter and Ford. So, poor him. But but the thing is, obviously, so he influences these huge events, and that's kind of a big part of the plot as well. So, 50% of the plot isn't even about Forrest Gump almost. It's just about looking at... It's almost like watching a documentary about American history. Just like, oh, this thing happened, and this thing happened.
Exactly. So, obviously, he starts off by telling his life story to random people at this bus stop. Until the last 20 minutes of the movie, he's doing that. And I don't know why he starts doing it. Maybe it could be explained, or maybe it's better not being explained. I don't know. But along the way, you do have this personal relationship that Forrest has with Jenny, or Jenny, so that the movie does try to have a heart and doesn't just become like a 20th century American history textbook that has been brought to life.
Yeah.
But you're right. I feel like I can't really describe or analyze the plot of this movie without just listing what he does.
Yes, exactly. I mean,
it's a weird movie to try and break down.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of so you can kind of focus on the beginning up until he goes to. I guess, I mean, the first time it really relates to the actual world is when you get that guy, Walter. You probably know his name. I've forgotten it. Walter? The guy who was against segregation. The guy who was on the wrong side of history. Lol.
I think it's Wallace.
Wallace, that's it. So that's kind of the first moment where we really see it actually step into real world history. So if you kind of just focus on the first bit, maybe that would help. So obviously the first bit is very personal. You basically have... although it's worth noting, he's got a pretty good life. It seems like basically they have a massive house just because they have a massive house. I guess
but it's in the middle of nowhere.
But then they rent it out as... So basically what they are, Luke, is they're landed gentry. That's what they are. They just have people come to their house and they own the land. So really they are the parasitic landlord class. So we hate them. But that aside, it's basically just about it's a coming of age story for the first half, but it's just really rushed through. So I guess it kind of feels it doesn't really have much of an impact. That's what I'm going to say.
Well, I don't think it's a coming of age or anything, because he just literally stays the same.
I guess that's what I meant when I said it doesn't really have much of an impact. Yeah, because I mean he learns to run.
He learns to run. That is his only character development.
Yeah, and he learns to stand up straight as well. That's important. And there's actually a reference to standing up straight when he's in the army, showing the importance of... You should have been a scene where somebody says, "Stand up straight, Forrest. Stand up straight." Powerful.
He becomes the running back for Alabama. university, and he wears number 44, which is, as we all know, the best number. So shout out to Forrest Gump for choosing that number.
Yeah.
But yeah, like obviously I say it's difficult to analyze that. When I say that, I mean analyze the plot.
Yeah, I get you.
You know, you can analyze the themes and stuff. But yeah, he's just going along doing shit like going to Vietnam and meeting Lieutenant Dan and playing ping pong and then speaking to the anti-war crowd, and you know, along the way, like Jenny's in and out of his life, like constantly, and then she's shown to be not doing so well, which we'll get onto later when she's not with Forrest. But yeah, like I guess. Yeah,
it's such. I thought this was going to be a kind of a short review, and it sort of will be. Obviously, when we talk about the themes, and maybe it's kind of. I mean, yeah, the plot. It is literally just a bunch of stuff happens, and I mean, so
he influences it.
Yeah, the pacing is kind of. But the thing is, this film is one of those films where you can't even criticize the pacing because it's almost like there's so much. The narrative is so, let's say, unclear and like moving all over the place that you can't even say like, oh, it needs better pacing because it's kind of like supposed to go everywhere. And obviously the narration helps a lot, like the fact that he kind of stops every now and then and says and then he continues talking again, and that sort of helps break it up.
Yeah, I remember the first time I watched this movie.
How old were you, Luke?
How old was I? It was just before England played Italy in the World Cup in 2014.
Okay, so you were quite old, yeah.
So I would have been 18.
Good.
Shit, I just revealed my age. Actually, I think I've done that
before. You doxed yourself.
Anyway. Yeah, so anyway, this guy, Forrest Gump, what was the point?
We were talking about how it moves all over the place, and therefore the narration helps break it down. That's what we were talking about.
Yes. So the first time I watched this movie, I was like, this guy Forrest Gump, what is he doing? What is the point of his life? What is the point of this movie? And it was when he was playing ping pong, I believe.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? Are they just going to go through like him just doing stuff, and then after that he starts running like up and down America? And it's like, what even is this? What am I watching here? Like, it's just took so many weird random turns, which I guess is the point of of one of the themes of the movie. But from a narrative perspective, it is
peculiar,
quite unusual.
Yes,
yeah, peculiar, unique in a lot of ways. And obviously throughout the movie you get this trick that they play over and over again. Here's something important that is happening, and Forrest doesn't realise it's important because he's so stupid and naive, but it's also sweet, and that's what keeps the film ticking over. That's what keeps each thing happening entertaining, I guess. And obviously Jenny gets intercut with a lot of stuff, but it's like, oh look, he's looking at Watergate. Oh, he thinks it's some people trying to fix a fuse box.
The Watergate one I think was the one that kind of stood out the most as just feeling sort of cheap. Because it was like literally President Nixon appears and he's just like, oh, you don't want to stay there. I'll set you up in a good hotel. It'll be really good.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's like, thank you. And it literally just... like, I found it kind of stupid how it like says it. And like, obviously, if you're a smart person, you know what's happening. And then it like pans down and it says Watergate on it. And you just think, maybe a bit more than necessary there. Maybe you overplayed your hand. Could have just had it be a bit more subtle, but whatever. I mean, yeah, I think so. Yeah, basically you're kind of saying that is there to sort of just make it, oh look, it's more significant now because it relates to real world human events. And yeah, I think that's actually kind of a fair assessment of the way it does relate to genuine history. Or should I say genuine history?
Great. Also, I got from this movie, I guess this is just an indirect byproduct of it, but American history in the 60s and 70s is incredibly depressing because Forrest Gump just keeps on saying, like, every person he meets, every famous person he meets, like, that nice man got shot. Then his brother got shot.
Well, the good news is now in America, nobody gets shot.
Yeah, but no famous people get shot.
True,
yeah, that's the difference. Yeah, and I was thinking, obviously, they show JFK, they show his brother... Bobby K. They show Nixon resigning, although that's not really that tragedy, but you know what I mean.
They show that poor racist getting shot, Luke. Didn't that make you sad?
Who was
Wallace? He got shot.
Yeah,
Reagan got shot.
Obviously, John Lennon getting shot, and I was thinking, well, obviously, who's the big guy they're missing out in that era?
The Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King, exactly. And I was thinking, are they gonna? Well, I've watched the movie, but I was thinking, so I knew they weren't, but I was thinking, did they ever think, why don't we put Martin Luther King in this movie? And I want to say they didn't want to do that because it would be distasteful and disrespectful, but they have been a bit distasteful and disrespectful in other regards, which I shall get onto
Yeah.
later in the humour. But maybe that would be one step too far putting MLK in this movie. And I don't know, maybe Forrest Gump goes to Memphis.
Memphis, Tennessee.
And just meets him outside in the corridor or whatever before he gets shot. I don't know. That would be going too far again. But yeah, that was the one thing that they missed out on, I think.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, or Malcolm X. Why not? I mean, they had the Black Panthers there.
They had. Yeah, but, see, Malcolm X isn't as famous as MLK.
Yeah.
They did have the Black Panthers, so yeah, that's fine. They really missed a trick with MLK.
Yeah, it's surprising.
They should have had Forrest Gump go to the Birmingham riots and him just casually walking along the street and sees like a dog viciously attacking a black person and go, "Oh, hey, doggy."
Hi, doggy. You're my favourite customer.
Yeah, like, oh, what a cute dog.
I think that would be good. I think they should have had the entire idea for the "I Have a Dream" speech come from something that Forrest Gump just casually says to himself.
Exactly, this is what I'm talking about.
My mom always said that racial justice is like a dream she had.
That's something that they could have put in this and it would have fit in, but again, maybe it was just a bit too far because it was MLK.
Yeah.
But maybe not, considering what actually happens also in this movie, which again we'll get onto later in the humour. But yeah, so that's basically summary of the plot. Forrest Gump is going through life. Shit happens that he...
Oh, shit happens. That sounds like a good slogan.
There we go. So another thing he influences, and a t-shirt. Another thing he influences, like a bunch of stuff. And then he gets back with Jenny for the conclusion. And the conclusion is kind of separate to the rest of the movie. The conclusion is actually really good. And I think it's why this movie is loved by so many people. So obviously, he's running all across America, and he finally stops.
Whoa.
And he meets Jenny at Jenny's house, and they do really have like a heartwarming, emotional moment when Forrest meets his son, and he says, "Is he smart or is he like me?"
Yeah.
And that is a really genuinely like emotional line, and it's really well done from Tom Hanks, and it's like, that
is powerful.
That's powerful. Yeah, no, but it is really good. Obviously, then Jenny marries him, and she dies. And again, it's an incredibly emotional ending when he's talking to
her son,
her grave.
Oh,
well, yeah, his son.
Oh, and the grave.
But I was also going to, her grave about Forrest, his son, and all of that. And yeah, so it's like the ending, the last 15 minutes. It's really emotional, and it's like separate to the rest of the movie. And I think that is why so many people like it, because it does end really on a high. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the conclusion of the movie.
I think that's I agree. Yeah, the ending is definitely where it gets much more meaningful and kind of because that's the thing. I think the other thing with this film is there are sort of those moments dotted in there, like a lot of the stuff with Lieutenant Dan and Bubba, and like Bubba's death and him getting the shrimp boat and him giving the money to Bubba's mum and things like that. It's like a lot of moments that sort of like belong to this much wider arc of this character. And then there's just loads of random stuff on top of that. So it's kind of like, and I think that's it. I think the stuff where it is really good and kind of really fun to see this character develop in this way is what propels this film forward. That's my theory.
Yeah. I agree. So yeah. I guess, are we done with the plot? Really?
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I don't think... Yeah, I hardly had anything written for the plot, so yeah.
Okay.
Next.
Yeah, next. So, Michael, is life like a box of chocolates? Or do we have a destiny?
Oh, okay, that's the theme. Because he says at the end, he says, maybe my mom's right, or maybe it's Lieutenant Dan. Because, Well,
he says it's a bit of both. And again, you've got this thing where it's like a stupid character saying something really simple about a complex issue, but it's kind of right and profound.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
I think that's it, though. To be honest, I think a synthesis is probably the more logical approach, in that it's like, because obviously life and reality itself is causal, and generally speaking, it's a lot like that scene in Jurassic Park, where Ian Malcolm's explaining chaos theory, because life is causal, and like everything does have a reason, in a sense that, you can say, well, this happened because this happened, and this happened because this happened. But life is also complex. So you go to unexpected places, just like when he does the drop and he says, oh, it fell off in a different place because little micro imperfections in the skin. Imperfections in the skin? Remember that? That's my answer.
I remember him saying, life finds a way.
Doesn't Jeff Goldblum love saying,
Yeah.
Anyway, Luke, what do you think? Do you agree with everything I just said?
Yeah.
And exactly how I phrased it?
Exactly. No, I agree with Forrest Gump. I don't know. Well, like I said, it's that thing. A stupid character says something that's right and profound about an issue which is quite complicated. But yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know what side does the film come down on, because you got the feather at the end, which he gives to Forrest, I think.
Yeah.
His kid, Forrest Jr. And obviously the feather is at the start, and there's the feather meant to symbolise it's, it can go anywhere. Things can go anywhere because it's just floating around in the wind.
Or is it supposed to symbolise the fact that it's dictated by the wind, just as our lives are dictated by the end of my sentence, by the forces that surround us that we have no control over? Did you ever think about that, Luke?
Yeah, I did actually.
Okay, good.
That was what I was going to say next.
All right, good.
Yeah, so we're all good. Yeah, again, whatever. That's one of the themes. Now, Michael, I think you know what? I think we should talk about, before we got into the next theme, the relationship between Jenny and Forrest.
Yeah, okay,
I think that's the best.
So here's the thing about Jenny and Forrest. It's a bit like Peter and Mary Jane and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. It's sort of like, it's so on and off that you're just like, I don't know, just do something and stick with it for pity's sake. She's like, I'll hang out with you. Oh, this is great. And then she leaves. And then she's like, oh, I just saw you. And it's like, I don't know, the thing is, for example, that scene where Forrest is giving the speech at the Vietnam thing, and you just hear, Forrest! And she runs out, into the middle of the water, into the middle. I don't know what that pool is called by the Washington Monument. Is it called the Washington Monument Pool?
Yeah, that would make sense.
So she runs out into the Washington Monument Pool, and she's like, Forrest! And she's running out, and he runs out, and they meet together in the water, and the entire crowd cheers, and, then she leaves, literally just, not long after that. And it's kind of like, I don't know, they kept doing that. The idea of them, ending up together or their paths intersecting or something was supposed to have some kind of significance to it, but it was also very, inconsequential a lot of the time when they did meet, and sometimes she'd just leave for pretty reasons. What do you think, Luke? That's kind of my initial thoughts on it.
So, I had a theory, Michael.
I'm ready for this.
I had a theory. Jenny uses the Dennis system on Forrest.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
So, if you don't know, the Dennis system is a bit from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and it describes how one of the characters, called Dennis, uses the system to try and manipulate and control women. And so, my opinion is that Jenny uses this system on Forrest. So, I'll just go through it with you. So, he first thing, D, demonstrate value.
Mm-hmm. By showing that your dad is attracted to you.
What?
Because her dad's attracted to her, therefore she must be pretty valuable.
Okay, but I was thinking more along the lines of she's nice to him and is his friend.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah. That I can see the logic there.
Okay, the E is for engaged physically.
Yep.
We all know that. What happens there with him having that great reaction to ejaculating? Yeah. Next, N is nurturing dependence. This one is a weak one, but you could say just the fact that she is his only friend.
Yeah.
He is kind of dependent on her, because obviously Forrest writes to her while he's in Vietnam. He's the only person that... she's the only person that he writes to. There's no one else. Doesn't write to another friend, or Bubba comes along, but obviously Bubba dies.
Yeah. Maybe she was even responsible for Bubba's death. I think you could reasonably assume that's the case.
The next N, neglect emotionally.
She does neglect him emotionally a lot.
She does, yes. Let's not forget her saying to Forrest, leave me alone, Forrest, or you've got to stop doing this, Forrest, over and over again. So yeah, that one's for definite. Inspire hope. Inspire hope. I love you, Forrest. I'll always be your girl, Forrest.
Yeah.
And then obviously she has sex with him. And then the last one, separate entirely.
Yes.
She does that many times throughout the movie. So I think we have proved basically that Jenny has used the Dennis system on Forrest.
Yeah, well, I did have some things to say about that. See, I want to talk about how, when I was watching this film, I was thinking about what a lot of misogynistic people like to say about... are you familiar with the term roasties?
Sorry, what?
Roasties.
No.
Well,
What is that?
it comes from the claim that if a woman has been with a lot of sexual partners, then her labia would begin to resemble roast beef. But basically, it's to do with, are you familiar with the term cock carousel?
No, but I can imagine what it is.
Well, basically what I was thinking about is it's like this idea that people have in this pickup community, which is like women, they just...
this pickup community.
Yeah, this pickup community that exists, you know.
That you know a lot about.
Yeah, well, you know, I like to stay informed. I like to, Luke, I like to hear both sides of the debate. You know, maybe women are people, but maybe also at the same time, you know, it's we got to be open to the debate about the possibility that they could be just things to manipulate. So,
yeah.
Basically, Jenny, she just never takes care of herself. She's always making stupid decisions. She's always going in with the wrong people and I don't know why I was going to call him Boris for a minute. Forrest, he's a cuck, and he's always there. He's always holding her hair back when she's throwing up, minding his business while she has sex with loads of people, and he's just there being like, I love you, Jenny. But you know what? He needs to become an alpha. That's what I'm saying. So basically, I can imagine if you're somebody who has, maybe been in a situation like Forrest where you had a best friend who was a girl and she just kept friend zoning you and passing you up so she could sleep with Chads and Black Panthers who beat her up, then maybe this film will trigger you, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, maybe. So are you saying that the incels see themselves in Forrest Gump?
Yes, I think that's very much true.
Okay. That's an interesting take. Maybe more interesting than my Dennis system take.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, though, I do think in a way that kind of fascinates, because I think there's a sense in which Jenny's character is kind of frustrating, and it's like she's not really... I guess, actually, you know what? I think you can make an argument that her character isn't very empowering, because her character basically just is a complete wreck who doesn't really do anything that good.
Well, why is she a complete wreck?
Well, the thing is, she's got a reason to be a complete wreck, but it's kind of like, wouldn't it, maybe, I mean, obviously you're allowed to have a film where somebody responds negatively to having had a very bad upbringing, but you know, maybe it would have been good if she was slightly more empowered, because she just, you know, she went out and she didn't need Forrest to protect her. She didn't need some man protecting her from her abusive boyfriend. She didn't need drugs. I don't know, Luke. Yeah, maybe.
Okay, well, you're getting into the territory that I was going to go to next, Michael.
Okay.
Which is the political analysis of this film. Did you say you had anything for this?
No, but I can imagine like different things. But yeah, you should take the reign here, because I'm just going to bounce off you. Yeah,
because I have a bunch, and I am very surprised, as you can see politics and stuff, like I can as well, that you didn't get any of this, because I've got a ton. So this may surprise you or not, I don't know, but in 1995, the National Review, which I'm sure you're aware of and read every week, it's a conservative thing. I don't know. Is it a magazine? I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure, but probably.
Is it a journal?
A journal makes sense. That makes sense in my head.
Yeah. So the National Review included Forrest Gump in its list of the 100 best conservative movies of all time. And ranked it number 4 on its 25 best conservative movies of the last 25 years. And this is their take on it. Tom Hanks plays the title character, an amiable dunce who is far too smart to embrace the lethal values of the 1960s. The love of his life, wonderfully played by Robin Wright, chooses a different path. She becomes a drug-addled hippie with disastrous results. Yeah. So this is the message of the movie, Michael, from a political perspective. Jenny's life is empty. She fights the system. You know, she thinks for herself. She goes against the grain. You know, she uses drugs. She's very promiscuous. She goes to anti-war rallies and then ends up with AIDS and dies and has
Luke, I think the term you're looking for is she dies of the gay plague.
The gay plague, there we go. So Forrest's life is fulfilling because he just did what he should have done. He didn't question authority. He's a God-fearing, all-American football player, and he's a war hero. Jenny was on the wrong side of the culture war. And this is not National Review.
No, yeah, I get, yeah, so I was thinking...
Yeah, this is me saying it. So, yeah, Jenny was on the wrong side of the culture war, and she paid for it. She and in the end, she gets one of the most... a disease which is associated with promiscuity and,
and drugs.
Homosexuality, which is AIDS. I assume she got AIDS.
It implies it's AIDS.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and when does she become happy, Michael?
Well, when she enters into a monogamous relationship with a white man in Alabama.
Yeah, when she goes back to a quote-unquote normal life, being a mother, marrying a husband. Same with Lieutenant Dan. He's bitter about the war. That's standard Vietnam vet who's angry at everything. But then makes a bunch of money, gets new legs, becomes another cog in the machine of society.
And he marries an Asian woman. And you know how submissive those Asian women are.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. So he takes a page out of Forrest's book, and Forrest is obviously the ultimate conformist. Just does what everyone tells him to do, which is obviously what people should do. They should just obey authority.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, this is why this may be surprising to you, because you've just watched this movie and we're in 2019. Well, I did some research on it, and so I got the culture war bit. I was going to bring that up, but it wasn't a case of this movie, maybe because it was so popular, I don't know. It wasn't a case of this movie just people who were interested in politics, looking at film in a political way. This movie really did become political, because Republican Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich in 1994 called it a reaffirmation that the counterculture destroys human beings and basic values. The National Review, obviously, a conservative journal, as we mentioned, awarded it Best Picture, indicting the 60s counterculture. Other commentators believe the film forecast the 1994 Republican Revolution and used the image of Forrest Gump to promote movement leader Newt Gingrich's traditional conservative values. Jennifer Highland Wang observes that the film idealizes the 1950s, as made evidence by the lack of white-only science in Gump's southern childhood, and envisions the 1960s as a period of social conflict and confusion. She argues that the sharp contrast between the decades criticizes the counterculture values and reaffirms conservatism.
Yeah.
So there you go. Also, she argues that the film was used by Republican politicians to illustrate a traditional version of recent history to gear voters towards their ideology for the congressional elections. Presidential candidate Bob Dole, who ran in 1996, obviously, stated that the film's message was, no matter how great the adversity, the American dream is within everybody's reach. And I'd say to that, well, it's probably within every white male's reach. And that's what I was going to go on to, a bit later. But anyway, so what do you think of that, Michael? This movie, it's a movie which shows that the counterculture of the 1960s and 70s was deeply damaging to Forrest Gump, a guy that doesn't involve himself in that and just sticks to, sticks to traditional conservative values. He's God-fearing and all that. And he comes out the best. He doesn't die of AIDS. He has a happy life. He has a kid. He gets lots of money. So if you just do what you say, what authorities say, then everything will work out for you. What do you think about that?
I think that's a really kind of good, and I feel like I got that impression, but I didn't really just realize how concrete it was until you pointed out that, especially the stuff like how it does just basically show the 60s and so many of the progressive movements of the 50s as just being really abject dystopian areas where it's just these horrible angry Black Panthers and fake progressive hippie boyfriends who beat up their wives, and obviously the fact that
there's another one.
And because I was kind of thinking, the one thing I was thinking was the fact that she is, Jenny is saved by monogamy, as if basically the one thing that means she's achieved success in her life, the one thing it means she's finally made it and is finally happy, is that she's
on the right track.
Yeah, is that she ends up with Forrest Gump and married with children.
No, again, that is the kind of message of the movie. Again, this is what I said at the start. It's good, but subtly, it does kind of show that if you do go against the grain, you will, as Newt Gingrich say, destroy your life. He said, obviously, a reaffirmation that the counterculture destroys human beings and basic values. And obviously, in the cold open today, we talked about how the culture war now is about fucking Little Mermaid and her being black. And I said, you've lost all these people complaining about it. And that is kind of true. So I think it is the case now that it has flipped. And now the so-called counterculture is the new culture. And that is not a new take, obviously. That's been the case for a long time. That's why conservatives are always whining about Hollywood and so on. But
why do we have to say happy holidays? Why can't we say Merry Christmas?
Again, happy holidays, fucking Starbucks, Pride Month, brands putting the gay flag, or the LGBT flag, I should say, next to their brand. Again, they've lost the culture war. It's over. It's over for them. So, but yeah, this movie was released at a time when conservatives were winning the culture war, and this movie basically reaffirmed that, definitely in the eyes of Newt Gingrich and other conservatives. So yeah, I just want to say also that Jennifer Hyland Wang, who I've mentioned before, the last bit from her, she argues in the Cinema Journal that Jenny's death to an unnamed virus symbolises the death of liberal America and the death of the process that defined a decade in the 1960s. Obviously, when does she die, Michael? She dies in 1982.
Yeah.
And the 1980s are seen as, a great bastion for conservative values and conservative traditions and just conservative politics in general. You had Reagan and Thatcher, their supply-side economics and a return to making America great. And obviously Reagan was one of the pioneers of the culture war in the United States. So yeah, this movie definitely, to just sum this all up, definitely is political, and it can definitely be seen as political. And even at the time, Republican politicians tried to use this movie to their advantage.
Yeah, and I can definitely see, because there was kind of, I think there is something kind of about this film that does rub me the wrong way, and I think that's part of it. I think there's the fact that basically Jenny's character is just a complete wreck because she dares to question the traditional narrative, because everything she does, the fact that what's his name, Forrest Gump, goes to war and fights in one of the most unjustified and horrendous, in terms of its failure, wars in US history. And Jenny's the one who gets screwed over in her life because she was the one who was, fighting with people who were working against it. Yeah,
again, Forrest Gump comes out of that war. Obviously, he lost his friend Bubba, but even Bubba's family gets a nice check at the end. So, they'd probably prefer him being alive, but again, they don't come out of it that badly compared to what it could have been. And yeah, Forrest comes out of it, and he's okay. Yeah, he's been in this war, which was incredibly unjustified. Honestly, he's too stupid to know that, but he doesn't suffer any major consequences in his own life. He just gets on with it and earns a ton of money.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. That again, this movie just, I don't know if it was intended, but God, and now I've opened your eyes, and maybe people listening to it, I can't see it in any other way apart from from this political perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So there you go. So that's the political analysis of the film, and I think that political analysis is justified. We'll move on. By the way, I just wanted to mention this. Do you think? Obviously, I gave that quote before from Bob Dole saying, "No matter how great the adversity, the American dream is within everybody's reach." And I said, well, maybe for white males. I do think this could be the ultimate movie about white male privilege. In that Forrest Gump is a moron, but he still manages to accomplish so much because he is white and he is male.
No, yeah, I agree. I think even in general, these films because actually these films which are about your lovable idiot who just gets through in life and everything works out in their favor, every single one of them, it's a white man. And obviously, I think you could definitely make an argument. All this time in talking about this, I keep thinking about Donald Trump, literally the example of somebody who's just an idiot. But if Donald Trump was lovable, his story would be charming. The story of an idiot who becomes president of the United States by appealing to the common people.
I mean, you say that, Michael, but the previous Republican president, that describes him to a T.
Yeah, you're right.
That was George W. Bush's whole brand. He's just a lovable idiot with traditional conservative values. Yeah, exactly. That was the thing in 2000. Who would you rather have a beer with? That was obviously part of the culture wars. That question was framed in the culture war narrative. So again, I mean, you've just mentioned George W. Bush. It is again this strand of culture war. Forrest Gump, the movie, kind of promotes it, and it kind of continues to this day. Although, like I said, they are losing that battle and have been for probably since 2012. I want to say. Yeah. I think that was probably the turning point. I don't think Obama being elected changed that, because Obama was still relatively conservative if you just look at what he was saying in 2008 in his presidential campaign. But I think when he came out against gay marriage in 2012, I think that was a big turning point. Sorry,
in favour of
in favour of gay marriage, of course, in 2012. And I think that's when everything kind of shifted. But I actually remember back in 2012, there was a load of people in America after the election when Romney lost easily to Obama being comfortably. Like conservative pundits, I remember Bill O'Reilly, who obviously I don't know if you know him. He was pretty famous.
Yeah, I know Bill O'Reilly. I know Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah, until the sex scandal.
Yes.
He said, I remember him saying, "We've lost the country. Like conservatives have lost the country." Those were his exact words.
Little did they know.
Yeah. Well, again, like I think economic disparity and it can change a lot of things. But yeah, that was the case in 2012. And so yeah. I mean, again, this movie, you have to look at it from a political perspective. I don't think you can, especially the fact that the Republican Party in 1994 politicized it as much as they could.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to move on to humour, Michael. If that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine. So what were your particular points about humour, Luke?
So you didn't have a lot for this either?
No, not really. I mean, there were... I don't know if there were any moments that really made me laugh.
No, again, I didn't laugh at anything.
It was like a light-hearted film, obviously.
Yeah, it was light-hearted, but again, where does the humour come from in this movie, Michael?
It comes from it comes from a variety of places. I feel like you're going to make a political point about the humour coming from the fact that people are... I don't know. Where does it come from, Luke?
I don't think it's a political point necessarily. But yeah, it comes from the movie making fun of Forrest Gump's disability.
Yeah, okay,
that's where the main
source.
Yeah, it comes from. And I think it's similar in that respect to the Amy Schumer movie, I Feel Pretty.
Yeah.
Don't know if you remember that.
We do remember that, yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. It was a comedy, kind of. And that movie was meant to, be uplifting and positive. Amy Schumer doesn't care that she's fat and ugly. She's acting like she's hot. But the problem was the main source of the comedy was like Amy Schumer is fat and ugly and she thinks she's hot, but she's actually not. And that's what's funny about it. And I think this is kind of similar. The movie, the source of comedy is, well, Forrest Gump is so stupid. Like it's meant to be endearing. People are meant to, like him. But again, he does have a mental disability and the movie constantly pokes fun at him for that. And it can be a bit problematic, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I think it's not too,
sometimes it does do it in an endearing way.
Yeah, I think it's like, I could see kind of it going both ways in terms of like it bothering people, but I think that's probably one of its not as bad aspects, but it's definitely there, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes when remember when the principal walks out after having sex with his mom?
that's always like the weirdest thing. Just that,
and he makes those noises. That to me was a bit like, oh, that's a bit mean, really.
Yeah.
And then the football coach, when he's playing for Alabama, says like that guy must be the stupidest man alive, but he can sure run. Like again, just making fun of him being stupid, and he is the butt of the joke because he's mentally disabled. And again, I don't think this movie would happen now in modern times. Like this movie is very much a product of before Enlightened era.
Before the woke era.
Exactly, before the woke era. Who knows when the woke era started? Probably the same time around where the culture was changed, getting like early 2010s. But yeah, that is the case. Also, a lot of the comedy comes from him being oblivious to big issues. And again, I've got another point about this, but he doesn't really have an agency. Like things just happen to him.
Yeah.
Which again isn't great either. So yeah, do you got anything to say about that before I move on?
No, I think basically the humour, it's kind of just like there's nothing particularly special about it or particularly funny, and I think you could argue very truly, very truthishly that there are problems with the humour in terms of the way it basically just makes the fact he's stupid the joke. That's the joke.
Yeah. Again, so I mentioned before he's oblivious to big issues, and that again could be problematic because it makes him seem like he's got no agency. Things just happen to the guy, but he is oblivious to the issues he is oblivious to are quite important. Like they brush over Southern racism a bit with the Ku Klux Klan member.
Yeah,
and I was thinking like he's talking at the start to a black woman, maybe because the audience won't think he's racist. Is that why? Yeah. And again, he's talking to a fucking black person about the KKK and how funny they were and how they dressed up as ghosts
Yeah.
or whatever. Quite offensive, but again, you could laugh it off, him being oblivious, but, again, whatever. Then the integration into university scene. This was one I found like the worst, because he's going out, witnessing this important event, obviously too oblivious to know the significance of it. Obviously, I'm talking about when at the University of Alabama and met black people for the first time, and he's just poking his head up behind this racist governor, and the audience is meant to take like humor from it, but I think it is a bit distasteful given what is happening at the time. It's not a moment in history to be made fun of. Like a governor of a state basically threatening these black students who are trying to just, have a college education.
But they're so goofy, Luke. Those Southerners with their... Isn't it just funny how simple those Southerners are? Those Southern folks, they don't want none of that integration.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's another interpretation, I guess. But he's not actually racist, Forrest Gump, which is a credit to him.
Yeah,
I
well
guess. But anyway, so next up, one which I found a bit problematic: the Black Panther Party bit.
Yes, 100%. So, I can see where you're going with this, Luke.
Yeah. Okay. So it does undermine how bad African Americans have had it in America when the Black Panther Party guy is going on about black oppression, and Forrest Gump is just stood there not caring, and it's meant to be humorous because it's like, oh, this guy is just droning on and whinging, and Forrest Gump doesn't even care. It's haha, but obviously what he's saying, the Black Panther guy, is quite true, and it is quite important. And there is the implication as well, he doesn't need to know what the Black Panther guy is saying, no need to get involved, because he's Forrest Gump and he's innocent, and he's just running through life. Yeah. Actually, with same with the running thing, when all the reporters ask him, what are you doing this for?
Yeah, and they ask like all different things, like racial injustice or the environment or blah, blah, blah.
Animal rights. And he's just saying, yeah, I'm just running.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so what is the point of this? It's like political stuff is too important, just switch your brain off, just be like Forrest, it doesn't matter. Like, is that what it's saying? All these people are complaining, and all these people are doing activist kind of stuff, and like obviously running for animal rights on the environment, but you don't need to do that, just run. Like, all that stuff is just stupid. That seems to be what the movie is implying. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh and cynical, but that does seem to be what it is saying.
No, I agree. That seems to be the clear message.
Yeah,
it's not a good one.
Overall, this movie does gloss over a turbulent period of US history, and some of the stuff it like kind of glosses over and doesn't make humor out of, but involves humor with these periods of history. I don't think it's okay. Like, especially the integration one, when he was like just bobbing his head behind the governor saying a load of racist stuff. It's like, I don't think this is that good.
Yeah,
like, I don't think he should be there making light of this situation, to be honest. But by the way, I'm fine with him like mocking Vietnam and because everyone knows it's a shit show, and I'm fine with him not knowing how bad it was, because everyone knows that about Vietnam. I would hope anyway. Anyway, so that is the humour, basically. I just listed why I'm such a snowflake and SJW.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
So
well, that's okay.
We
all forgive you for being such a huge cuck service. No, not keeping cuck, sir. A huge cuck brawl.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, the political stuff, I think that, again, it's a product of the time. Like, the fact that Forrest Gump won the culture war, and talk about whether this movie would be made in
the modern day,
in modern times. I think that
in hashtag current
year. It could be made with the political angle, because again, like, it's not problematic, the cultural element or the culture war element, but definitely the humor, that is, I think, problematic. The obviously making fun of the fact that he's got a mental disability, and making fun of the fact that he's
he doesn't care about things.
He's just been zany in the background while some horrible shit's going on in the foreground. Well, I don't think that's okay really either. And so that's why I guess this movie wouldn't be made today, the humour in particular. So I agree. Those are my thoughts on the humour.
All right, so ready to move on to bigger and better things? Okay, so
I've talked for a while, so you talk.
Well, I want to talk about, because you said that the effects were one of your nitpicks, and I understand it, but
yes,
obviously this film did win an Oscar for Best Effects. and I assume that we're all clear on the fact that that's because the CGI for the time was very impressive. And I will say this, okay, you said it was bad, and I get you, but compared to, I don't think the CGI is that much worse than, say, for example, the CGI in Rogue One. I don't know, maybe, well, actually, okay, what I should say, I think they compensated for it quite well. So I'll say, first of all, I don't think it was as bad as it could have been, but second of all, I think it was compensated for quite well by the fact that they kind of shot it with this grainy footage. So I think that was a clever move on their part, and they kind of realised the limitations. So I kind of give them credit then for sort of not, because one of the worst things that films did back then is not so much that they had CGI. You can't blame them for having bad CGI, but the fact that they used bad CGI and they didn't appreciate its limitations, so they just put it front and center right in your face, and it was just awful. So I think I kind of say good on them for not doing that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I guess so. Yeah, obviously I had my issues with the effects, but yeah, you're right. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah.
So that's it. Pretty much all I need to say. And obviously, it did win the that thing that it won, the Oscar. So
yes.
Credit to them. But obviously, by today's standards, not great. But I don't think you can really say, oh, it's shit, because it wasn't too bad for the time. I've seen worse things. Yeah.
There was worse things. You are right. There is no doubt about that. Like some kid on a computer trying to do some special effects. It was probably worse than this movie.
Yes, exactly. That's true. Yeah, some random kid who made all those those like videos on YouTube which are like they often have like a weird political message, but it's like each person's like they talk in a really weird way, and they're like I'm here to explain to you why socialism has never worked. It's like a text to speech voice program, and basically that's worse, is what I'm saying, Luke. And I hope you can appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, yeah.
But anyway, apart from that, the only other thing I wanted to say was the music. So this film had a lot of music. Would you agree with that, Luke?
It did, yes.
I also thought, like, sometimes I should have written some examples down, to be honest, but some of the music was a bit obvious. I think when he starts running, there's a song, and it's, like, about running, and it's, like... Yeah, I should have written down some good examples. There are, like, a lot of examples of just something would happen, and then they played a song, and the lyric would just be explaining what happens.
Yeah, let me see. I've got the soundtrack up here.
Oh, yeah, good.
Forrest Gump, the 32-song soundtrack. Wow. I'm just trying to look.
I might look at it too.
Oh, God, it's too good. Sweet Home Alabama. I noticed that.
Because he goes to Alabama. Yeah, that works.
Yeah. Running on Empty.
Yeah. That's a classic. There's also a song called Running on Empty by a woman that nobody's ever heard of. Okay, let's see. So, Fortunate Son, love that song. I can't understand it. I just meant but do. Is
that it? What about Mr. President, Have Pity on the Working Man?
Yeah, that sounds right. Oh, it's by Randy Newman. Oh, so yeah, Sweet Home Alabama, Running Empty. It Keeps You Running. I think that was another one that I thought it...
On the Road Again?
Yeah. Go Your Own Way. I think that was... Or On the Road Again might have been that. Anyway, the important thing is that even though I can't exactly remember which ones they were every single time, I can tell you that there were a lot of them, and I was thinking... I guess maybe you could say Freebird was playing when she was looking out over the... what's it's called? Looking out of the balcony, thinking about killing herself, and you could say that's a reference to jumping and flying like a free bird. But there were a couple of them, and none of them. I'm sure there were some which I was just like, ooh, that's a bit obvious. Like I can't think there was another film I can think of which did that, but it was like basically just you gotta have. I don't know why. There's just something about it which just doesn't quite work if you just have this really obvious music choice. It's nice to have fun music.
Well, does it just feel so like blunt?
Yeah,
like
that's
so
it,
obvious.
Yeah. So you kind of just like music that kind of more. I guess really it should be more like music that works with the feeling rather than music that just says the right stuff. If you get what I'm saying.
I guess so.
But I mean, it wasn't a massive thing, but I just figured I'd bring it up.
I do want to say, by the way, this movie got 11 times platinum in Australia.
Oh wow.
And it only got platinum in one other country, apart from the United States, obviously. Can you guess what that country is?
You know what, Luke? I can see it. So,
because
I know what it is. It's New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Yeah, because
yes.
I was looking at the soundtrack myself, and I kind of just skimmed down when you said the first thing. So
I was hoping you wouldn't skim down.
yeah, I know. Yeah, well, the thing is, I kind of didn't. I'd already skimmed down by the time you said. You asked the second thing, so you were like, "Oh, it's in Australia," and I scrolled down, and you were like, "And do you know what the other thing was?" And by that point, it was too late, I'm afraid. But yeah, so
okay. So, Michael, do you have anything else to say?
no.
Okay, you took a while there.
Well, I just thought I'd make sure I had absolutely nothing to say.
Okay.
Do you have anything more to say, Luke?
No. I'm ready to conclude on this movie. So we've done this in quite quick time. But
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, the main problem is that the plot was a bit elusive, as the kids are saying.
Mm-hmm. Oh, actually, we need to mention one thing, I think. The character of Forrest Gump is played by Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
And Tom Hanks, obviously, like we said before, with the balance with Robert Downey Jr. and all that. But no, he does a really good job. And I'm just thinking, like, it must be so hard to pull this off.
Yeah.
Playing a guy who's mentally challenged, who
is likable and relatable.
Yeah, likable, relatable, and just the way he does it, and he manages to do it. And obviously, he won an Oscar for Best Picture. Sorry, not Oscar, Best Picture, Best Actor. The movie did win Best Picture. So yeah, I think again, like this is one of his most classic performances. I believe he won it in Best Actor in back-to-back years. Am I right? I think he won it in 93 and 94.
What did he win it for 93 for?
I think he won it in 93 for Philadelphia, I think.
Oh yeah, okay. I might. You know what, Luke? I'm going to find this out really quickly using my high-speed searching abilities. He won it. Yep, twice in a row. No, yes, twice in a row. Yeah, you're right. Philadelphia. So 1993, Philadelphia, and 1994, Forrest Gump.
Well, what can
and
I
in
say?
the next year, Nicolas Cage.
What did Nicholas? Oh, wasn't it for Leaving Las Vegas?
Got it.
There we go. Anyway, so Michael, it's time to conclude, I think, on Forrest Gump.
Yep. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I just want to start off by saying, by the way, this is a bit of a sidestep, but I thought I'd mention this in the conclusion because I think this is the best place to mention it. This movie, despite it being Best Picture winner, do you want to, and maybe you already know, but, I'm going to say it anyway. Do you know how much it has on Rotten Tomatoes percentage?
Okay, well, I'm guessing it's probably, it's not going to be that low, but maybe like in the 70s?
Yeah, in the 70s.
Okay, yeah, that makes, that doesn't make sense because obviously you'd think better for a Best Picture. Well, okay, let's go for, 77?
72.
Oh, wow, yeah, not great.
Yeah, 72. So why does Best Picture winner, a classic, a movie which is still famous to this day, hence why we are doing it on its 25-year anniversary, why, I've had a ton of news articles written about it, by the way, that I saw this week, why has it only got 72% on Rotten Tomatoes? Why is that?
Is this a rhetorical? Okay, it is a rhetorical question. There we go.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think it's because it was conservative and supported like their side of the culture war, and I don't think it was because of the offensive humour. Because I think back in the day, those things didn't really bother like critics.
Yeah.
I think from what I got from just reading about it at the time, I think why critics didn't like it because they didn't feel like it had any soul. They felt like it was like a bunch of corny quotes. Obviously, like life is like a box of chocolates, being the most famous one, and that's why people liked it. And it was manipulating simple people, and the film critics, they saw through it. They're like, this movie is just a bunch of cliches and catchphrases, and it's so sappy. And I think they have a point. I think that's why they really didn't like it. Because there's nothing, if you think about it, these guys who go to watch movies, they're looking for more than just like a dumb, likable guy going through the movie saying like, catchphrases and cliches. And, I guess, and I think their hate for this movie, or maybe hate is too strong a word, indifference perhaps, to this movie was multiplied by the fact this movie was a cultural phenomenon. And they were like, this movie can't be a cultural phenomenon. It's not good, okay? It's shit. Or maybe not shit. It's just average. Like, it's nothing special. Why are people absolutely loving this movie? Why is the book called Forrest Gump? Why is it becoming a bestseller? Why is this movie the second highest grossing movie of 1994? It's just, like I said, like a dumb, lovable guy saying like cliches and sappy, corny stuff. And, I think that's why this movie really didn't sit well with these guys at the time. And again, that's something we kind of criticize it for. Like we said, this movie, the plot is just him doing a load of stuff, and the end is emotional, but like along the way, I didn't really love it. but I didn't hate it. I was just along for the ride. I wouldn't describe, I think the average person watching this movie in 1994 liked it more than you and I did.
Yeah.
In terms of the plot. Anyway, I guess, this movie, along with it being, conservative in the culture war, and obviously, with all the quotes and stuff, and Tom Hanks being Tom Hanks, and everybody loves Tom Hanks, that's why it was a culture phenomenon, and the critics didn't like that. Also, another reason why the critics didn't like it stole, quote-unquote stole, the Oscar from two of the best movies of that decade, and one of the best movies of all time.
Shawshank Redemption and Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, exactly. Shawshank Redemption and Pulp Fiction. They were in the running for Best Picture, and this movie about a fucking dumb guy from Alabama saying stupid, stuff that like your grandma would say.
I feel like a box of chocolates.
Exactly. That how can that win Best Picture compared to the absolute brilliance of Shawshank Redemption and Pulp Fiction? So I can see why this movie wasn't liked by the critics as much as the average American at the time. So, I'll just sum up quickly by saying, that I think it's true. Like, this movie does rely on a load of that kind of sappy stuff to get through it, and I don't appreciate that. I don't dislike it, but I don't appreciate it. I'm indifferent to it. This movie, I would say it is political. Again, like, I'm not going to bash it for that, because that's just a point of view. It's a point of view that was probably the prominent point of view in the 1990s. Certainly that was... the Republicans did very well in the 1994 midterms, which we mentioned. They stormed and, bashed the Democrats. It was not just because of Forrest Gump, obviously, but it does hold weight, that argument, that this movie was, culturally, took the side of the dominant culture and the culture war in the early 90s. And the humour is quite offensive sometimes. Like I've mentioned that example before of the university. I think that's the worst.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know. It's a very weird movie to rank, and I'm gonna wait until you say your conclusion, and then I'm gonna rank it. So you go first.
Okay, there we go. So like I say, this film, it's a weird film because the thing is, obviously there are different things you can look for in a film, and in general, I think we're both kind of in agreement that something that makes a film very good is if a film has interesting themes. The problem with this film immediately is that when you start looking at the themes, you realise the themes are not good. And obviously, maybe if you're a conservative, you'll like these themes, but then you're also wrong. So who cares what you think? The themes aren't good, and then the entertainment value is okay. There's nothing particularly intelligent about the way it operates. Having said that, it is still quite an enjoyable film. When I think about like films which I kind of associate it with, the immediate one that's jumping out to me, and it's funny because I said I thought this was a Steven Spielberg film, is The Post, which obviously was another film. But of course, the thing with The Post is that The Post had a lot more kind of intelligent stuff going on with it. But I think The Post is kind of like another film which isn't very impactful but kind of exciting. Having said that, I think if I were to place it near any film, I'm kind of looking, and what I have here is I have a little Best Picture section in the high sixes. I've got Slumdog Millionaire and The Shape of Water within two spaces of each other. And to be honest, I think that's kind of an appropriate place to put it. And I think I'm going to put it below The Shape of Water and above it, the clown film It. And
yes, the clown film.
Yeah, so I could also, on another day, I might put it below it because I think it below it. I might put Forrest Gump below it because I think it was, although we haven't seen it in a while, so maybe when I do my old quarterly review of it, that'll be fun. But for now, I think so. It's a high six. It's below Slumdog Millionaire and The Shape of Water and some other, in my opinion, kind of misguided Best Picture nominations. So does that help? Yeah,
okay. So I think the plot is meh. I think the humour, not great. Political themes, although I disagree with it again. Like, it's there, whatever. I'm going to say it's a 6 out of 10.
Yep, I think that's fair.
And again, it's weird saying like a movie like Forrest Gump, an absolute classic, giving it only a 6 out of 10, but I just think it's amazing what a charismatic performance and a lovable character can do.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, because I think that's it. It is just down to the performance. And to be honest, I think it's very easy to imagine, though, a different scenario where this film wouldn't have been a classic. I think that's not very definitely hard to imagine at all. I
saw an article with Tom Hanks while I was just looking at stuff because it's the 25th anniversary, and obviously he's doing Toy Story 4 press, and there was an interview about Forrest Gump, and he said it was an absolute crapshoot, I believe was the term he used. He didn't know it was going to be good or not. He didn't know how it was going to be received. Obviously, like we've talked about, it was a very unique movie, and so he just didn't know what the reaction was going to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, again, like, there you go. Forrest Gump, one of the most unusual movies that we've done.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the most unusual, I guess, mainstream movies of all time. I think that's fair to say. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we haven't got receipts. We're going to do that next week for Spider-Man Far From Home. But Michael, what are we doing? What are we reviewing next week?
I literally made sure I remember Lion King. There we go. Yeah, I have it there. So, but yeah, the thing is, I always try to remember. I always think, I've got to check, make sure I remember it. And I never do remember it. So I guess the best thing I can do is just make sure that I've got it ready. Unfortunately, there, I did have it ready. So yeah, Lion King. Oh, actually, you know what? I had a plan even. I was going to go, let me answer your question like so. We are reviewing Lion King. And you were going to go, oh, well done, you did it, to kind of like the noise of that kind of singy thing. But then what happened is my parents went to bed, so it didn't really turn out as well. So there we go. Okay. Also, though, I've got this written on my spreadsheet. Lion King 2 as well. Oh, yeah, well, the thing is, okay, so basically the reason why is because I don't... You wanted me to watch this? I wanted to know your opinion on it because I think it's an underrated direct-to-video sequel. And I want to know what your opinion on it is, but I also don't think it's really worth reviewing on its own because I don't think there's that much to it. Yeah. But I think it is kind of interesting. So yeah, so I want to watch that, but we're not going to be reviewing it. Officially. Yeah, a 5-minute thing like we did with Phantom Thread. Yes, exactly, yes. All right, I'll do that. Yeah. Okay, so there we go. Lion King next week for the release of Lion King, another Disney live-action movie. Yeah. So looking forward to that. Anyway, who have you been, Michael? I've been Michael. And I've been Luke. Thank you for listening. We've been selecting and reflecting on Forrest Gump because of its almost exactly 25-year anniversary. We'll see you next week for Lion King, which, 27 years for that. See you and goodbye. Goodbye.